some of you have, okay, hold on. All right, there. I just wanted to go over, we've been doing Monday sketch crawls, a couple of them at the Continental Club, which was really great. We did 2. And I wanted to do another one on a Monday, but this heat is just killing me. But I don't know if we should do the Continental Club or find someplace else. And you guys all liked Orange Park, so I wondered if you know of someplace in Orange Park that we can do more sketching out that way, because the Monday group likes that area. If you guys have any ideas, if you can't think of it now, if you want to email me or message me or text me, just you can go ahead and do that. Also, a few of us did the St. John Center, and I don't know how you felt about that. It was really pretty interesting. We did a Sunday morning. There wasn't any traffic. It was just the buildings. How do you feel about it?
Well, I didn't go, but I definitely, my intent was to go, but I was set up at another event the night before. I was so tired. But I was thinking about like San Marco. Like, Hannah, you made some really good paintings like from San Marco. So, and I love painting stuff from San Marco in general. So I was like, maybe that could be like a good space for us to go to.
Okay, so I've got down San Marco, that's good. The other place, they went downtown last Saturday and everyone had a good time doing that. And I'd love to do that again. Even, should we start at the same place, Chris, or should we?
Yeah, you know, it was great, Lisa, and obviously we missed you, but we're glad you were in the recovery mode. But, you know, downtown is really, you know, it's kind of the heart of if you really want to do true urban sketching, that's a great spot. We this one we took a little different attitude, and the attitude was not so panicked. You know, everybody was getting pretty panic stricken over a 3 or 30 second sketch or a 2-minute sketch. So what we did is we just went to a couple, 3 places, and we took maybe 30 or 40 minutes and sat and found a little shady spot and did some nice corners and historic buildings, and everybody seemed to enjoy it. We did it for a couple of hours. So we started early. The shade of the buildings was there. So downtown is relatively quiet on Saturday mornings. It's a great spot. There's multiple directions to go in. So I would suggest that's certainly a go-to if people want to do that as well. And I know we talked about the what is it? The villages of what's the Avondale? The villages of Avondale. That would be a good little spot.
Yeah, that's where I did.
Yeah.
We did this morning there.
Yeah.
And there's so many shops. They're all different.
Yes. And to Lisa's point about the town center, the only time I want to go to a mall is when there's no people there. So it was really great to go there on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock before it was opened, and you just walk around the street. It was like a ghost town. So it was really comfortable from a sketching perspective. But it's one little main street, and that's about it, and a few little corners. I don't know if I'd recommend going back, but you know, we're always open for suggestions on some of these fun little places to go to. San Marco is always a great go-to as well. That's fun. So good. We'll keep them coming. Lisa's doing a good job keeping everybody kind of satisfied. There's Saturday folks, there's Sunday folks, and now we have Monday folks. So we're getting quite a stream of different days of the week. We're trying to please everybody, and hopefully we're not making too many people mad. But it's been fun. Everybody's producing some great work.
Speaking of producing great work, does anyone have their sketchbooks and we can each show something we've worked on lately?
Okay, so I framed it because this is like my thing that I like to do. I like to frame everything, but this is like the Ritz.
Oh, love it.
Nice.
So I'm weird about it. I don't really do I'm not doing it properly like with my sketchbook, but I still go out and sketch, and then I just like to. And then you guys remember this? We just did the Times Union.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Fun with that.
Yeah.
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 So,
Cool.
and then I did this one too, but I've already sold it. So I just wanted you guys to see it because me and Hannah went
Nice.
to go paint
Oh, nice.
Maria
Yeah.
Theater and I already sold it.
Oh,
Good. Good.
Okay,
Wonderful.
someone else.
Anyone else?
I did another one I did the one that I posted earlier but I also did this little Volkswagen
Oh, nice.
that
Very
was
nice.
parked down there, but I didn't do anything else with it. I just thought it was cute. So anyway, but I did these buildings and I posted them earlier.
I've been down and out,
Awesome.
so I just have the ones from the town center, and they were fun. The ones from the town center. This is the Capitol Grill. Remember that? And let's see what else. Then of course we did other kind of sketches and quick sketches. That's upside down. I'm sorry. Quick sketches, and it was really fun. That's the town center. So I liked that there was nobody there, but I also was disappointed that there wasn't anybody there. You know what I mean? Needed people there.
Yeah,
Anybody
that's
else?
right.
I went into great detail. This is the first time I've ever done this at all. And I'm not
Okay.
really a good artist, but I don't know if you can see that. It's kind of light.
You have to hold it back a little bit, I think.
Is this pencil or pen?
It is pencil.
Okay.
So I don't know, it's not very clear.
Is it colored pencil?
Well, it's mostly black and then charcoal and then I colored it.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
We sat at one of those coffee shops there this morning, the one with the yellow chairs in Avondale. I can't remember the name of it. And from there you could see the whole across the street, but cars started parking.
Yes.
So if you go, you have to go really early. We got there, 8:45-ish or something like that, which, people were just starting to come. And we had a good view for a while, but then the cars came. So that would be a good place for a really early morning time, or maybe an early Sunday, although there's breakfast places around there.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
Yeah, the one. Go ahead, Anna.
I'm going to just show my sketch
Oh, yeah.
from
Wow.
Sunday.
Yes, I
Nice.
saw that. It's
In
wonderful.
downtown. I did a
Love
couple of
that.
one. Yes.
Yeah,
Nice.
awesome.
That
Really
was
nice.
wonderful too.
Yes.
Very nice.
Good.
2-page
nice.
courthouse.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, there's really some good work produced over the weekend. That was a lot of fun. We're going to have to be careful of scheduling around like the First Coast Plein Air Painters and the Pastel Society, and it becomes just a drawing and sketching weekend. And I really can't find anything wrong with that. But I mean, people get sort of separated and get off and do their other things with other groups. So, but it was great. It was fun.
Anybody else have anything before we go to our guest?
No, but I have a question.
What?
For those of you that are also in the plein air group, I've noticed that since I've been doing the sketching with y'all, that the last time I did plein air, it wasn't to me really plein air. It was kind of a mix between a sketch and the plein air, like a journal almost. I don't know. If anybody else had that problem or I don't know, it just was weird, kind of weird to me. I don't feel like it was one or the other. It was kind of a combination of both.
But it was wonderful because you learned when you went, right? I mean,
I had a blast.
Schizophrenia in art is not a bad thing. I mean, that combination of ink and watercolor and oil and pastel, that'd make a cool little painting. So just go ahead and keep it up, Phyllis. It's awesome.
absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
beauty I love.
If it takes the pressure off, then you're having a good time, right?
And from my perspective, I love seeing some of these artists that in this group that have labored for hours and hours over oil paintings and paintings in general, and come out there and do a 2-minute sketch. It's wonderful to see them loosen up and see the improvement. It's really, really noticeable in a good way. So congrats to everybody. And those of you who normally see me in my home studio, I'm in a hotel room in Tampa. So don't think I'm in there like a bedroom or something. It's sort of a really boring room. So I'm here for a business conference that the next 4 days I'm going to be bored out of my mind. But this is the highlight, believe me. So anyway, on with our guests, guys.
If you'll do the honors.
Yes. First, I would like to thank Maida Kuvara for joining us today. He's an artist and industrial designer based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had the opportunity to meet him in the Chicago symposium, international symposium, and then I took a workshop with him in Chicago for the Chicago seminar in 2018. So I really like his style. He's a really, really good instructor, and I have been following his work for a while. So he's also the author of Sketch Now, Think Later. I highly recommend this book, where he talks about how to sketch with limited tools and limited time. So thank you again, Maida Kuvara, for joining us tonight. And now I let it to you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. No, it's a pleasure being here, and I'm honored to be invited and to talk with everyone here. I heard it's a mixture of a bunch of people, different backgrounds, a lot of artists here, and I almost want to learn how the people with artistic background ended up coming into the sketching world, because I haven't met as many as people that come from non-sketching, kind of more business, or actually I guess it's a degree where people come from all sorts of areas, but it's I've been sketching for 20 plus years now, and it's something that continues to bring me joy every day. So we were Lisa, Chris, and Hannah and I were talking a little bit before the session started, and it almost feels weird when people tell me how that they find my work inspirational, how I could keep on doing it. And my answer to that is that I keep on doing it because it just brings me joy. And I'm also in a really grateful position where I could draw and sketch for pleasure. And I work as a full-time designer. And so sketching for me is a luxury, and it's a hobby. And I just keep on doing it. But I'd like to keep the session in terms of like Q&As or anything, in terms of if I could answer any questions or show my past work, or just keeping it open. But regarding my sketching journey, it's I first got started like I mentioned 20 years ago, when I graduated from a design school. I studied industrial design at Pratt Institute in New York, and I got my first job and my second job in a consumer electronics company designing products. And I learned in school to be able to use a computer, to be able to come up with ideas to manufacture. But one thing I lacked was the ability to be able to draw quickly, which is really more sketching, which was meant to communicate faster. An idea or a thought, it's easy something visually than to write it out in words, or develop something in CAD in your computer, or make 3D models. It just took too long. So I started carrying a and I drew anything and everything. And it was early ages of social networking. So it's something I did by myself. I kept it to myself, and I didn't really show it to anybody. And I almost felt like I was doing this by myself. It was a very lonely activity, but it was something that I kept on doing. And it was 10 years later, and it was almost an accident. But 1 week before the first Urban Sketchers Symposium in Portland, Oregon, took place. I found out about it on the internet. There's a sketching symposium. I'm like, this is crazy. There's people like me that, you know, do something like this. And so I quickly signed up and I went to the symposium in Portland. I was living in Boston at the time and I flew to Portland. And that's how I got involved in the urban sketching community. So it was timing was, you know, right there. And I learned that there were other people like me that like to sketch on location. And it just blew me away. And I've been addicted ever since. So that's a little bit of my background in terms of how I am here right now. So you know, if there's any questions like, you know, that comes up right now, I'm willing to answer them, or if, you know, if it's more of a show and tell, or, you know, I really like it to be a interactive session. So,
Mike, let's see some of your work.
okay, sure. Let's see. So I brought a whole bunch of sketchbooks here. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Just pulled up some recent sketchbooks. So, you know, I have a lot of sketchbooks, and you know, like many of you, my sketchbooks are all of the same size and format. And I've been using this for many years now, but they're all Stillman and Byrne sketchbooks. I have two types. I have the alpha series and the beta series, and the difference is the thickness of paper. But this is the one I just finished back in March. I have a few things here that I drew. Oh, so these, you know, they were actually thrown in my sketchbook because I like to use this paper. But these are actually, it was a commission work for my local area. For those of you that's been to the Charlotte area, there's a place called Noda. It's a little bit north of Charlotte, but they commissioned me to a map of the area. So I worked on the design and the map, and I drew the locations. So it's like a visual map. And then I also, you know, drew, you know, each of these areas of the mills. There's 7 mills, and they all have names. And so this is a map project, and these are the sketches from that map. So these aren't really urban sketching, but flipping through it, let's see. You know, cars. I love cars. I keep on drawing cars over and over. But let's see. And you know, I draw food a lot. It's so food sketching for me is it started because there would be times where I wouldn't draw the whole day, you know, because of work, or, you know, I never, you know, or things like that, life. But you know, we eat, and I've noticed, hey, you know, why not take the opportunity to draw what I eat, because that's like the only time I could really draw. And so this one was a Thanksgiving dinner. It's a restaurant near my house, and we've been going there for 3 years now, since we moved to Charlotte. It's been really nice. And then it's you're going to see a whole bunch of random sketch Charlotte. I'm sure many of you probably do the same thing, but when I drive around, I keep a mental like bookmark in my head. I'm like, I got to draw that. Or it's like, ooh, you know, and I keep that in my mind. And anytime I have an opportunity, I would draw it. So this is a barbecue restaurant that was near my house, and it's still there. I think it's been there for decades, but I parked and drew that. You know, other things that just captures my attention. So if I'm driving and I see something, I typically stop. I would stop and sketch. So this was a Santa Claus on top of a barbershop. And, you know, for these sketches, for me, the act of sketching and capturing that moment is more important than the composition or the light or things like that, because, I'm probably never going to come around and draw that again if I didn't draw that moment. So this is actually drawn from my car, and it's from where I parked. So, my composition is fixed. My time and daylight and it's fixed. It was right before sunset, but I try to make the best out of it. But yeah, I think there's more food here. So there's food. It was a taco day, and there's a famous cheeseburger place, Brooks. This was a place where, driving from Charlotte to Asheville, there's this really beat up gas station. Oh, well, beat up as in old, but they kept it really intact for some reason. I guess the owners just decided to keep it. It's pretty impressive. Love these vintage areas or architectures that have, I don't know, there's something really nice about things that are old for me. And so I keep on drawing it. Yeah, let's see. So these are like a World War II museum. I think this was one of the first times I went back to a cafe this year, when things were starting to open up slowly. But it's, they're always nice.
Wow.
Yeah, pawn shops. So yeah, you're going to see a lot of things in here. Oh, this is my wife's cooking. It's a Japanese, traditional Japanese New Year's meal that she cooked, which I just had to draw. And, so yeah, really, it's a lot of my city, and I try to draw every day, and sometimes so here's a beat up car that's parked in front of this oil changing place. It says "Are you due?" It's for the oil change kind of. So, I mean, I could keep on going on, but that's kind of my sketchbook. And yeah, I have a whole bunch of things in here.
Hey, Mike, do you have a particular, set of pens or things that you like to draw with, or do you just, whatever's close, you grab it and go? We're always interested in materials and things of that sort as well.
Well, so, I showed you my sketchbook, and they're all the same. They're all the same size. There's people that carry multiple sketchbooks for different occasions. I keep one. So I never run into the problem of, ooh, which one should I grab? I always just have, one type of sketchbook. But yeah, let me take that back. So I actually have two types of sketchbooks. They're the same size, but the reason why I keep two is that I actually use two methods for sketching. I use one where I actually start off with a fountain pen to sketch. And I typically use this fountain pen to sketch. It's called a Fude pen, where it's got a bent nib in the front. Ooh, it might be hard to see. I'll show this a little later, but so it's a fountain pen. And this one I'm showing here, I actually draw with the watercolor first. So it's watercolor first, then I use a pen to go into it and draw. And it gives a very different effect. That's why I carry two sketchbooks to draw. But so this is the sketchbook I carry. And regarding the tool, it's a minimal tool. Here's a little waist pouch that I carry, but this is 100% of my tools. It goes on my waist, and in the back I have a watercolor kit. So it's 20 colors loaded in here, and it's for those of you that are familiar. It's the case is called a Sakura koi case. They make really nice cases, and but I never, after a couple of years of using it, I ran into, like wanting more with the color. So, but I really like the case, so I actually designed this in 3D CAD software. It's a 3D printed file. If you're interested, it's on my website, but it prints and it drops in. You could drop it in either way, left or right, depending on if you're a lefty or righty. And I drop in 2 sponges, so they go in here like this, and I hold it like this, and I use my my water brush to paint it. So that's my watercolor, and I carry a number of gray markers of the Tombow pen. So this is something I started using in the past couple of years, but I noticed that when I'm adding watercolor, in the last phases of the watercolor phase, I'd like to add value where it's like the shadows. And so these are mainly used for shadows. And then there's a black felt tip to add the darkest of the darks. So those are the blacks. And in terms of the white colors, I have a number of the white gel pens and the acrylic pen for adding white highlights. What else? I showed you a water brush. I carry 2 water brushes. So it actually holds a lot. Oh, this one is something I really like too, and I occasionally use it, but it's a felt tip, but it's loaded with my preferred ink. So it's actually you can load your own ink, and I use a Lexington gray. It's a Noodler's ink that I've been using for years. And let's see, I have ballpoint pens. I occasionally draw with ballpoint pens. But
did you say what kind of pen that white one was?
So this one here, it's called Fluid Writing is the name of the brand, but it's a weird brand in that they go by multiple brands. If you what was that website? There's a website that just sells fountain pens. Maybe it'll pop up in a second, but they carry them as well as jet pens. I don't know if you've been to their site, but they carry it too. Look up loadable ink or refillable ink felt tip pen, and it usually comes up. I think I bought this on Amazon or something.
Felt tip. Okay.
Yeah. And let's see. I carry a tiny pencil when I need a pencil. It's this pencil I've been using, like 3-4 years now. I don't really use pencils, so it lasts me a long time. And let's see. Oh yeah, and I carry one brush, one regular brush. This is one I use the sketchbook I showed you with the watercolor first. I use this brush. So
with all that, Mike, we thought the fanny pack was dead, but I think you may resurrect it, because I can't believe what you've stuffed in that. That's a great little pack.
Yeah, no,
we struggle with packing heavy, and we have boards and easels and chairs, and you got to be mobile, you got to be light. That's a great little pack you got there.
No, I love this. And as much as I want to recommend it to a lot of people saying, hey, you should buy this, this was pretty painful to buy. It was actually painful as in, it's actually a bag, it's a waist bag made for hairstylists. So it was originally made for hairstylists so they could carry their cell phone and their scissors and their combs. And but it's made by this daughter and mother. They live in Japan. They only speak Japanese, and they don't really sell on the internet. So it's like, okay, I had to order it through my in-laws in Japan and have it ordered there and have it shipped over to the US. So unfortunately, it's hard to buy in that respect. But I did look on Etsy and places like that. And if you look up like hairstylists, waist bag or something, you will find tons. I mean, you will find tons, but I haven't been able to find, something like this. Usually they're made out of really nice materials like leather and stuff. I'm like, I don't need leather. It's too heavy. I want something really light. And so for me, it's been working out pretty good. Oh, and one more thing is this little hair clip. I use it. So when I'm sketching outside and I don't want wind blowing it, I would clip it like this. And it would keep the paper from not, as opposed to a bull clip, this is smaller. It's just,
Do you like to stand when you sketch, Mike, or do you sit or get comfortable? What's your preference?
It kind of depends. But I love standing sketching. I think that's my preferred choice. But when I do sit, I have my bag here. I always have my stool with me all the time, and this is something I like showing too, because I think this is the world's smallest stool.
Oh,
It's,
wow.
it's
Wow.
about the size of my pen or my cell phone, but it actually is, you know, it folds and it clips on like this. And, you know, Hannah's seen me use this in like demos and stuff, but this, yeah, this is, it beats sitting on the floor. I could sketch on this for hours.
Right,
And
well,
so-
I'm 6'3". I don't know if I could sit on that for hours.
Yeah, you know, it's, yeah, so that's the one good thing about being small in this case. Yeah, it pays off for me. And another thing that's been good about this is that I've sketched in places with very tight security where they won't let you in with anything. Even like a backpack or even a small like waist bag, they won't let you in. Like the Statue of Liberty was one of them when I sketched there. They go through like really crazy security, worse than the airport. But this one, I was able to fold it up and put it in my back pocket and go through and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, so this goes through most securities without a problem. Yeah.
Do you remember where you bought that?
Excuse me?
Where did you buy that?
Oh, this you could actually, let's see. I think I remember seeing a link, but
Was it on
the last
Amazon?
link I remember seeing was on eBay, UK eBay. You were able to find that, but yeah, this is one of those hard to find things too. So it's not readily available.
So Mike, talk to us a little bit about the Fuda nib, you know, because, you know, that's one of my favorites as well. And Merrick introduced me to the Fuda nib. And he also introduced me to the Duke Confucius 550 Fuda pen, which is a monster. And I bought one, and it changed my sketching life. And I know a few others within our group purchased the pen as well. But man, that Fuda nib is so wonderfully versatile. So tell us a little bit about your technique with that.
Sure. So Merrick and we did a Instagram live one time. We spent an hour and a half just talking about Fude nibs. So, you know, I
think I watched.
Yeah. And this Fude pen is one of 30 plus Fude pens that I have. So just remember, I got to this.
I love it.
Yeah, it's not like one, and also Fude pen is, it's not for everyone, and this one pen isn't for everyone. So I actually don't recommend it to everyone, but I do recommend the Fude pen as a category, but just not this model for everyone. So just the makeup of the pen is that it's, if you could see, it's a bent nib. So to people that aren't familiar with fountain pens, you know, people probably think it's broken or it's bent, but it's the easiest way of explaining is if I hold it up vertically and sketch it and draw a line, it draws a fairly, thin line. But if I angle it and hold it, it draws a line very, very thick. And if I flip it, it's also a consistent and very, very thin line. And all the lines in between are actually achieved through the angling of the pen too. So you would hold it up and you would get really, really thin lines, almost like a scraping scratch line. And, there's somewhere in between too. So, that's really in essence, the makeup of this pen. And the reason why I originally started using this is that I used to have a really thin felt tip pen, a medium felt tip pen, and a thick, felt tip pen, to get the differences in the weight. And this one did it all. So it was a matter of, all the tools I showed you are, it's really 20 years of me trying things and trying to bring it down to what's most important. And for me, what's most important is I know in seconds time what to grab, and I won't miss a sketching moment, because I'm not deciding on which sketchbook to use or what tools to carry, or if I carried it or not, if I forgot it, I always have it. I'm actually to a point where, I go to a supermarket with my wife. I have my sketchbook. It's, it's a certain illness, I think, to a point, but I carry it with me just in case something happens. Yeah, so.
That's outstanding.
What is that tip called again? What did you call the tip?
It's called a Fude. So it's Fude. It's a Fude fountain pen. So the word Fude, it actually means a brush. It's a Japanese word. It means brush, and like a brush like this, standard brush. And it was actually originally invented for calligraphy purposes. It was to, if you think about, very traditional Asian language kind of, calligraphy writing, is the brush being used to write it out. And this can actually simulate that with the different angles. And I think it's over the years, artists have picked it up and say, hey, this is more than just writing words. I could actually use this to draw. And so it just kept on, booming from there.
When you use a Fude nib with a watercolor paper, Mike,
Yeah.
I've used that numerous times. What a wonderful technique. What a wonderful line quality. It's a broken line quality. It's exactly like a dry brush technique. It's really, really nice. You get some really nice effects. Yeah.
It really is, it's like, it's so, here's like the watercolor, and, within, it also depends on what you load in terms of ink wise, but, I load the Lexington gray. And what I like about the Lexington gray is that it's, what I put down here is that it's almost like a pencil in a way. So if I draw like, a black line, let's see if I, like, here's a ballpoint pen, a black line. Maybe within a Zoom call, it's really hard to tell, but here's a black line too. And yeah, this isn't really showing too well, but there is a difference between, how dark the line is. And what I like about using the Lexington gray is that if I wanted to go later on and add a darker black, it would override it. There will be the gray and you could put a black on it. If you start out with a black pen, you can't go the other way around. You can't go lighter. And so that's why I kind of like, starting out with this more of the neutral color of the grays.
Tell us about how you hone your skills. I mean, some of us, again, we're very intimidated when we talk about speed sketching and working on techniques for entourage, especially in an urban environment. One of the things we did Saturday, Hannah, we took this real difficult scene, and it was signs, it was stoplights, it was people, it was high-rise buildings, awnings. It was an urban scene. And we said, okay, guys, you got 5 minutes. And we go, what? Well, what do you mean? So how do you look to simplify? What is your process when you see a sketch, see an object or a subject, and then you go? What's your process?
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to think what would be the easiest way to talk about that. So, if I flip through, any of the sketchbooks that I just showed, typically, I see something and I know immediately what I want to draw. I don't know if that's true for anyone, but I'm sure, we all experience that. You're walking or you're driving, you see something, and you're very, very attracted to it. I always try to remember what I'm attracted to. So this pawn shop was, this sign and just overall feel and of how the makeup of this was. So well, maybe this isn't the best example. Let's look at this. So I remember this day. This was probably New Year's Eve, and I see this reindeer inflated balloon on top of this building. And I'm driving and I make a U-turn and go sketch this. So, there's I don't even think about it in terms of like, ooh, what should I do with this composition? I know exactly what I want to do. And then I say to myself, how much time do I have? And, so time is always critical. It's never endless. And if it is endless, I probably won't sketch it. In that, it's like I wouldn't know when to stop, and I also probably will get burnt out too, and or get tired of it because I've been sketching with time limitations for such a long time. It's I think setting a time limitation also does help in being able to focus more. So this one I knew exactly that I had about an hour. And, my wife and I, we had to, go grocery shopping, then finish off and go home. And so, I'm not going to keep her waiting that long. And so I said, okay, I know my time. I know my subject. And, in terms of location, it was where we were parked in the car. It was cold outside. So it was parked in the car. And so it's pretty straightforward in that sense. I would, decide on what to include, what not to include based on what I could see and how much time I had. And my focal point, which was this reindeer. So,
I have a question about that particular picture. So you started that with that foodie pen.
Foodie pen, yes. This is all. This started
that with.
This is
with
straight
gray
pen.
ink.
That's correct. Yeah, there's no pencil. I actually don't use pencil. I think it not only slows things down, but I actually think it takes away from the energy. I mean, sure, you get a better composition like this one here. If I were to, really critique it, I could probably have this composition down a little bit more. It's too much space here, et cetera, et cetera. I could critique this forever, but I like the fact that I finished it on time and I could look at it, I could talk about it, and I experienced it, and I'm happy. So it's the Fude pen going right.
I like that the idea of that pen being the soft color, because it's not as out there if you don't want something to be, really seen, and like you're sketching with black ink, then it's really there a little bit more prominent than this. I really like the idea of that.
Well, thank you. It's if you take a look at this a little bit closer, like the reindeer feet, the little bit of the shadow underneath this ledge here, and underneath these areas, these are blacks, and you could tell that they're much stronger than the line above it because they're black colors as opposed to the gray that was used to sketch it. So
and those are the tombos.
Those are the tombos, as well as I use this one here. This is just a personal preference, but this is made by Kuratake, which is another brand that they make like, actually no, this is not a Kuratake, this is a Pentel, but they make brushes, the felt tips like this, but it's like a tombow. Yes.
Thank you.
Mike, we can always be so critical to our sketches, but that's a great sketch. That's a great sketch, and part of what we're all learning and continue to learn too is, our sketches aren't going to hang in the Louvre. We want to be energetic with the line. We want to redraw a line. We want to make mistakes. We want to, that's all part of the learning process. And I think a sketch has so much more energy when it's quick, and there's a lot of scribble lines, and there's textures, and there's contrast, and who cares about critiquing it? It's you're learning from it. It's a lesson. That's a great sketch. I love it.
Oh, well, thank you. No, it's I feel the same way. It's when flipping through my sketchbook, it's a lot of it is like that.
Awesome. Wow.
I draw these things a lot. It's I think I could say that I'm actually addicted to construction machines. And when I'm driving down the highway and I see those parked, I'm turning my head and I'm screaming and pointing, and my wife is like, "Pay attention to the road, don't look to the side." That's how I attracted to get to these things. But it's and they're great subjects in that. If you ever see them, I would recommend sketching it. Do it on the weekends. They usually don't work on the weekends, so that these people are, these trucks are usually parked there. and they don't move. You know, they're always in like one location, and no one's really gonna, you know, yeah. I mean, you can be near a construction machine, and people don't really, you know, think of, you know, anything wrong with it. And probably might think you're a little strange, but it's, you know, it's just fun. It's so that's like one I do. And then here's another one, which is, so I'm showing you all of these as, you know, as more of a story rather than, you know, something, you know, that I'm proud of in terms of sketching. Was not really. This was in Asheville. My wife was shopping, and she said she'll be back in, you know, 40 minutes or so. And I said, okay, great. You know, it's one of the things I enjoy. I love waiting. You know, when I fly and when I go to the airport to fly, I actually go 3-4 hours early than my flight, so I could actually sketch in an airplane. And just recently, we went to a restaurant. Actually, maybe I could pull that one up too. We went to a restaurant, and I was told, you know, there's going to be a 30-minute wait. Are you okay with it? I'm like, great. You know, I'm super excited with it. So here we're at the brewery. I gave them my number, and what was great was that I was able to order, you know, a small drink and sketch while I was, you know, while we were waiting. And so, you know, waiting is, yeah. So I'm waiting in the car. So yeah, I parked and I'm just sketching. Yeah, that's so that's my composition. It's pretty easy, and that's
Nice.
I don't have any other choice. So
you don't have any wasted time.
Yeah.
yeah, it's, you know, well, wasted time. You know, it's like, you know, there's so much to see. You know, it's like even the most mundanest scenes that you've seen over and over, when you actually stop and sketch it, you see something completely different. And I think that's why I'm just so addicted to it, where you know, I just find inspiration from, you know, everyday life and everyday, you know, scenes around. So that's scene there. Let's see.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, here's this is called the South End in Charlotte. It's one of the most booming areas in the area. I was told even like 5 years ago, it wasn't like this. Now there's a whole bunch of restaurants and buildings, and this building here, this is the new Lowe's building. They're building a headquarters where all the Lowe's employees are going to start working there. But that wasn't there even like a year and a half ago when, you know, when we moved here. But you know, this was one of those where, you know, what was important for me, it was a tower and it was this ice cream shop. This wasn't really that important, but it's hard to not draw it. So I had to draw something. And I also didn't want to painstakingly take time to color all of the windows or, you know, so, you know, this was an attempt of saying, hey, there's a building there. For me, it's not that important, but it has a strong existence. It has this kind of color scheme. I have no idea how many windows there are. I actually don't even know if if any of these window counts are accurate, because I never count windows. I take a best shot at it. So from, you know, an architect or, you know, professional people, you know, it's not good, because, you know, you don't want to give a drawing to a client with the wrong amount of windows, but it's meant to capture a scene.
That's got a beautiful effect.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
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 So, and it's also a forced perspective too. So when I'm drawing in single perspective, this is probably all I could get. But when you turn your head a little bit, you get more. So this is what you would call, like in your camera mode, it would be like a fisheye lens kind of thing mixed in with, you know, perspective. And that's the great thing about sketching. You don't have to sketch what you see perspective wise. You're able to bend space and put in things like this building is so way out. If I drew this, it'd probably be a double page spread in terms of how far it would be out, but I included it in all in one page. So.
I love it. I love it. Mike, Hannah mentioned a little bit about your book, and I have your book as well. You know, a mutual friend, we were talking earlier, a mutual friend, Jim Richards, had recommended that book. I didn't know of you and that sort of thing, but the Sketch Now, Think Later. I just absolutely love the name of it. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, sort of what inspired you to do a book. We all wish we could do that one day, and it's fantastic. I love the concept of it, and obviously the sketches are fabulous. So, talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. This one is, I went through a lot of personal joy with this book, and that this originally wasn't a book meant to be like this. It was actually this. It was Sketch Now, Think Later. It was a mini book that I had created for a workshop when I taught at the Urban Sketchers Symposium in Manchester. So this was made to as a handout. I wanted to give a handout book to the participants. And I heard from many people that they had a hard time starting out how to sketch because they were so fixated on getting things right, or they didn't know where to start, or didn't have enough time, or stuff like that. So it was years of my experience of drawing faster and faster, and drawing fast wasn't my goal. It was being able to draw within the time you have and really being able to enjoy it. And I wanted to, point that out, and that, hey, it's okay to draw a dinosaur only halfway and paint it because, it still captures what you're looking for, or, ways of color. Or here's the way I actually color, but I actually don't mix. And the reason why I don't mix is that I feel you could draw faster or paint faster, and you could actually adjust your color on the watercolor paper much quicker than mixing on your palette and doing it. So yeah, it started out with all of these, and little annotation techniques, like if you finish a drawing, you could go on later on and add little graphics to to design your page, which will make it look nicer. And then in the end, you could finish off your sketch by having a little stamp. So I don't do this too much anymore, but I have like a reward stamp saying, if you find me, please contact for a reward. There's a date stamp and a Mike D stamp. And little tips about, what kind of sketch bags to carry, or little safety instructions. And so, yeah, it was a mini booklet like this for the workshop. And then Gabby, who's the founder of Urban Sketchers, he saw this and he said, hey, Mike, I think that'd be a really good book to, pitch to a publisher. And so he introduced me to the publisher, who introduced the Urban Sketching series. And that's how it turned into this after, a couple years later. So that's where it started. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So cool.
So flip through that one a little bit for those who may not own the book.
Sure. So what you just saw probably captures the very overviewing topics of what this book is. This is just going much deeper into what I just showed, and it really is captured in here. Where I talk about this a lot in the beginning, where if there's an axis of energy in terms of, how much energy you put into something and how much time you put into something. And then it's divided up into 4 quadrants. If you divide it up, there's the quadrant of lots of time, lots of energy, and there's quadrant of little time, little energy, and, the remaining quadrants. And then, I talk about, where you should focus on. I say, if you have lots of time but little energy, why don't you do something else, like read a book or go out for a walk? And if there's lots of time and lots of energy, for me it's like great, but it's it's really rare, and I get stuck because I have too much time. And so where I focus on is this part right here, where I'm here 90% of the time, where it's little time but I have lots of energy. And that's the sketches that you saw are all based on this quadrant here, where there's limited amount of time, but because of that, I could focus, and because of that, I get things done. And, I'm pretty happy in the end, regardless of outcome. I could critique it later all I want, and I do. I always critique my sketches later on, but I don't critique it while I'm sketching. that's something I've been able to shut off after years of sketching, because it's just not good for anybody, especially yourself. You know, I think we're all too hard on ourselves. You know, if we're already there with your sketchbook and the location ready to sketch, you've done a lot already just by being there, saying, okay, I'm going to do it. So just, you know, take that one more step and say, okay, I'm just going to do it. I'm not going to critique myself. So
love it. Love it. Yeah.
And the rest of the book is divided up into chapters of techniques about, you know, here's a reinstate one where I talk about, you know, people talking about mistakes. And I don't think there is such a thing as a mistake and when you draw a line. And what I talk about here is called reinstating, where if you made a line that's off, draw another line to correct it. And you were only able to correct it because you made that first line, which was off. It was more of, you know, positioning. And, you know, as you draw more, you reinstate less, but there's always going to be that area where things aren't right, but you could keep on adjusting it. And that's okay. And then there are things like repetition and pattern. And I talk about, you know, when things repeat, you don't need to draw every single detail. You could draw segments of it and let the viewer's mind take over and fill in the gaps. So like these stairs, I don't finish it. This roof, I don't finish it. You know, I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it because I didn't have the time, but I didn't finish it because I feel as though the viewer could fill in that by viewing, by looking at it and stuff like that. So yeah, just a whole bunch of techniques. Oh yeah, here's a Statue of Liberty one here. This one here, I'm talking about angle and composition. I'm saying, you know, when you see something that's really world famous, why not choose an angle that you've never seen before rather than choose something that everybody's seen on a postcard? And the reason for that is, one, you see that it's actually really different than what you think you know. And two, you know, it's you know, a postcard drawing, everybody knows it, so they're going to critique it as in like, ooh, that doesn't look like, you know, the postcard I saw. And it's like, sure, because this isn't a postcard, you know, this is real life. And you know, here's a oh yeah, here's when I went to Egypt. You know, I bet you've never seen the butt of a the Sphinx. And so here's the behind. And the reason for this is that here, when the face area, there were tons of tourists there with their cameras, and there's no way I could sit there and sketch. But in the back, there was absolutely nobody. So I'm there by myself, and I'm able to draw the Giza butts. Detail to my heart's desire. So that's my story there. And yeah, and coloring techniques and stuff like that. So, and oh yeah, in the end is all the tools. If you're interested in all the tools that I just talked about, they're all in here too.
You know, Mike, that's fantastic, and I'm going to tell you, I need to plug that book for you. I'm sure you can still get it online through Amazon,
Yes.
Whatever. That's where I got mine, and I'd recommend everybody who's on this call, please, man, order up, because it's an awesome book. Mike is flipping through it quickly, but there's so much depth to what he's saying, and it relates so much to the philosophy of urban sketching. And the quickness and the observation, the art of observation. It's wonderful. So, wow, thanks for that little stroll through that book, and it's highly recommended for sure.
No, thank you very much. And you know, while I have an audience here, just a little bit of PR on my end. It's been official. Is that I'm going to be publishing another book. It's nice. It's the next version. It's actually a follow-up to this book. So this is called Sketch Now, Think Later, and many years later is a book I'm going to be publishing. It's called Color First, Ink Later, and it's actually based on this sketchbook that I showed you, where I talked a little bit about, you know, it doesn't start out with my fountain pen. It actually starts out with my water brush. So I would color first, and then I would go in with ink later. So it's
wow.
And that's kind of the book, and it will be out in January, but it's rolling right now. So.
Well, you're going to have a signing in Jacksonville, and when you come down, give us a workshop. We'll have to have a book signing. Have you here? Wow, that's fantastic! Wow.
Well, thank you. Yeah. So,
do you have demonstrations on YouTube at all, or your website?
I think There are some on YouTube.
Okay. I'm
There's,
intrigued by the ink first. That really is
Oh.
intriguing to me.
the fountain pen one.
Yeah, well, ink
Yes,
first.
yes.
I mean,
Mhm.
paint first, color first,
Yeah.
Pen
color,
first,
ink,
yes.
paint
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
and then
Yes.
a pen.
Yes, I recently, or a few months ago, did a demo through Etcher. I don't know if you're familiar
Oh,
with
okay.
Etcher. Yeah,
Mhm,
so
I am.
there is one posted there. I did. Let's see if I have that drawing. I think it's in here. Hold on, give me a second.
Yeah, and tell us where we can find you too, Mike. You know, on
Yeah.
Instagram and Facebook, or
So,
YouTube,
yeah.
whatever.
It's on the Etcher site. Yeah, I can't pull it up. I think
I
it's in
thought
one
you
of
were
those
familiar. I
sections.
watched that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a fun one. It was actually painting a fountain in Charlotte, and with the skyrise buildings in the back. So and that park they're gonna actually think I'm not sure if they're gonna keep it all, but they're gonna gut it down. They're gonna start putting skyrises and apartments and hotels. Yeah, there's a lot of changes in my city here, a lot of new development. So. Yeah.
That's great stuff. What else, guys? Anybody? Well, we got Mike. I'm sitting here taking notes, and I mean that book is that book is awesome. I love the fact I'd have to struggle with the color first, ink later, there, Mike. So I can't wait for that one to come out and see how that one that one
Well,
blends with my personal style.
If anyone's
love it.
interested,
Guys,
I do have a few more books.
Oh,
So
wow.
these are more travel log books. So this is called the Freedom Trail in Boston for people that know Boston. It's so I walked the Freedom Trail for I think it was about an 11-week project, and every weekend I drew each of the locations and talked about what I saw. So this was the first one. Then it got me hooked, and every time I traveled somewhere, this is when I went to Machu Picchu in Peru. So it was a journey going to Machu Picchu. So starting out everywhere from, at the airport, flying inside the airplane, that's my wife sleeping sideways. And then, from the meal on the plane to, oh yeah, there's a woman knitting something, and let's see. And then, yeah, so all of the scenes from, sketching on top of the Machu Picchu mountain and stuff like that. Oh yeah, this was pretty cool. This was actually using the very traditionally made ink that they had there, and I was able to sample it and use it in my watercolor and stuff like that. So yeah, if anyone's interested, these are in there. And the latest one was the Sri Lanka book too. So.
Oh, fabulous!
Those are nice.
Fabulous.
Very nice.
I saw in your work that you do like little floor plans or little room plans.
Yes.
Yeah, what do you do that for? I mean, I see that. So cool.
So this is a little bit of an illness or an addiction too, but this started out where I read an article about an architect that traveled, and he would draw the rooms by measuring. So, and that gave him a sense of scale and an understanding for proportion, and everything about it was fascinating. And I'm like, all right, that's pretty cool. Maybe I should try that. So every time I traveled, I would take my measuring device, which was a laser pointer, to measure. And before the laser pointer, I carry a 25-foot ruler, and I would make my wife hold it, to the other side of the room. But I drew everything to scale. So these are rooms from all over the world. That was in Japan. This was in Philadelphia. Oh, here's Chicago, the W. Where else? Anywhere from, here's in Tokyo, Sheraton. Oh, this was in Frankfurt, Germany. And yeah, so I did this for 12 years. I drew about 150 rooms. And just 2 years ago, I said, okay, I think I drew enough rooms. So I stopped doing it. And the reason, oh, here's one in China. The reason why I stopped doing it is it's really a certain illness, and that it takes about 5 hours to draw. And there are times where I'm traveling, and some of these are on business trips. So I'm on business. I'm going out to dinner with my colleagues. We have a nice meal, we have a drink, we come home to bed around 10 o'clock or something. And the next day we have to wake up at 5 o'clock to travel or something. But rather than going to sleep, I spend the next 5 hours drawing a room. So it just wasn't good in many ways. But I learned a lot.
You may have to see somebody about that, Mike. I don't know.
That
may be
exactly.
an illness. I don't know.
But I kind of found that out by myself. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop doing it.
Hey, Chris.
Really cool. Wow. I really like that.
Wow. Chris,
I see the next book being Sketching and Addiction.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sketch addict. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, maybe that hotel room you're in is not as boring as you thought it was.
There you go.
It would take me at least 5 hours to sketch this bad boy.
There you go.
There you go. We look forward to seeing your sketch.
You see the TV, see what it says on there? It says, time to relax. It says, good evening, Christopher, time to relax. That's scary enough to me right there. Hey.
I really like, Mike, I really like all the different dimensions of your work, because you have so many interests, and that gives me permission to pick up the things that interest me so much. And mine are more plants and things like that. And I always try to steer away from it, because I think, gee, I'm going in my garden, I'm drawing my plants, and they're not urban sketches at all, but they really mean something to me. So I don't draw them, because I think I'm not drawing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Regarding, I think it's what your heart is moved to, and like hobby wise, I'm getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I have too many hobbies. I need to start cutting it down. Or if I'm going to pick up something, I'm going to give up a hobby. So, that's something I've actually kept a visual diary for about 11 years. And it's something I was addicted to. So every day I would have to draw what I did or what I was thinking visually. Wow. It wasn't through words. And it was hard. It was really hard, but I did that like 10 plus years. And I got pretty good at or comfortable doing it. I said, okay, I think it's time to stop. I put myself to a limit of saying, if I do something 10 years and I'm happy with it, I'm going to move on to something else. But I said, okay, I'm going to at least do it 10 years. So, and that's what I do with anything I start. I started yoga about 5 years ago. I'm 5 years in. I do it every day. And it's changed my life too. And I don't know, maybe in 5 years I'll try something else. But that's right.
That's fantastic.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You're definitely an inspiration, for sure. Yes. I am so glad that you were able to come and speak with us, because I've learned so much from you today, and just how excited you are about the whole thing every day. And I want to be that excited, and I just need to get myself more excited and give myself permission to draw whatever I want to, besides urban sketching.
Yeah, no, it's no one's stopping you, right? It's
right.
You got to do it. I think it's your inner self. If it is stopping, you got to say, no, it could wait. You're gonna do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm curious if anybody else has like an addiction of sorts like that. Like my latest thing is, especially with a lot of rain that we've been having, I sit at the front door and I sketch the lizards and the birds on the bird feeder, and they're moving, and so I'll get a little piece of one, I'll get like a head, or I'll get a foot, or something, and the squirrels are just, squiggles, because they move so fast. but it became an addiction. I took a an online class from someone, and she says, okay, do this. Only she was like doing it also from wildlife videos. And so then I started at my front door, and I've learned a lot about just exactly what the body of a lizard looks like, and where its feet are. And then I started sketching my dogs, and they're laying down, and then I would get 3/4 of the way done, and then they get up and move. So I have partial dogs all through my sketchbook too. But that's become kind of an addiction for me.
That's really
Anybody
cool.
else?
Or passion.
Passion, yeah, yeah.
Might be a better word.
Yeah, I just think if you're drawing, there's nothing wrong with that. I
Yeah.
think it's fantastic. Mike, one of my biggest takeaways is something you said, you love to wait. And I think that's so wonderful in the sense, everybody thinks it's wasting time. Oh gosh, I gotta wait here. I love your enthusiasm to say, oh honey, go off and shop for an hour. I'm good with that. That's a great that's a great thought, and that was one of the things that stuck with me. The ability. Walt Disney made waiting in line an art form. He just began to compartmentalize. Each step you'd move 10 feet and go, oh good, the line's waiting. But you couldn't see the 1/4 mile of people in front of you, but you're in a different room and that sort of thing. So the beauty of waiting is great. It's like the art of waiting, so what do you see as you, so that's awesome. I thought that was wonderful.
It's a visual story that,
Yeah.
that you told when you're done, you have the visual story. I have an uncle that was wheelchair bound from polio. He was my great uncle. And we would take him everywhere. We would go to the, amusement parks or the zoo or whatever. He couldn't get up, but he was fine. Leave me right here. And then on the way home, we heard stories. He didn't do a visual art, but he told us stories about different people in the most interesting ways. And that was his, way of recording what happened. And so I think that, a lot of people, I think, have different ways to, I don't know if it be exactly cope, but to enjoy waiting.
Outstanding.
Sure. So Mike, what do you think we should do to get us going? Give us an assignment that we should do to get us going.
Wow.
And I'll post it on our Facebook page and say, this is from Mike. And he says, this is what we should draw. And he's going to come on our Facebook page and see how we do.
Oh no.
Yes,
No.
yes.
I would love to go see what you're doing, but giving you an assignment right now is like, oh, that's a lot of pressure. It's, well, it's a lot of pressure because I rarely do that myself. Where it's more of if I run into it, I would do it, or I would run into something and I would keep mental bookmarks about what I want to do next, kind of thing. So just coming up with something to do like that. It's I think I might need a little bit of time.
I think that is a great assignment. I do. I think just doing what you just said is just be observant, look around.
But actually, let me take that back. I do have one thing. So this is something I've done. Let's see if I can find something. I've done in previous workshops for people that have a hard time getting started in many ways. Here is one example of, and I showed a few before, but this is not the greatest sketch, but it captures my dinner. It was at a hamburger shop, and it was actually a lettuce burger, but it was so for people that have difficulties overthinking or not getting started, drawing your food is actually one thing I do recommend a lot, where you have and I recommend doing this when you're hungry. So here's a couple of reasons why. When you're hungry, you want to eat, and in order to eat, you have to finish your drawing, which means you better focus and put all your attention to it, or you're not going to be able to eat. So that's one thing. And believe it or not, it's, well, I think many of you know this, but, I think when we eat as people that could see, like what is it, like 70 or 80%, whatever, it's mostly through the eyes that we see. So, first being able to enjoy it with your eyes, which you're going to enjoy a lot of. And then when you taste it, you actually seem to taste it more and better because you actually dissected everything that you just drew. So that starts you out with your composition. And when I do this, this is all line. This is very, very quick. This is a couple minutes at most. So I'm doing that while I'm sipping my Pinot Noir here, and I would finish it. And then after I'm finishing it, I could start adding color to this based on a photo I took. But I also, at the same time, I could also be drawing the background, the scenery, and maybe I might throw in a logo. And so this doesn't have to be your food as in a restaurant. It could be at a coffee shop. It could be your muffins and your coffee, and you draw the coffee shop scenery in your back, add a logo to it. Or, if you've never done this, I do recommend, at least giving it a try and to see how well, especially, nowadays in the summertime, it's getting really hot. So, finding a place to do it indoors that's not a bad thing. So
I like that.
yeah, that's my assignment.
All right, I'm going to post that on the Facebook page and see if I can get some people doing it. That's wonderful. You hear that, everybody? That's your assignment this week.
And
Boy,
it doesn't have to be at a restaurant, Joe. It could be, I mean, a lot of my, stuff are from the restaurant. This was at the Melting Pot, but it was, done, capturing the food I ate and stuff like that. But it's,
That is fun. All right. Well, do you have anything else for us, Mike?
I mean, I could keep on doing this, but it's, I'm sure it's, I mean, because, I'm trying to think. It's, I mean, was there anything specific that people wanted to, I might could flip through a few more. Was at so I rarely sketch at museum type of places, but it's, this was a BMW place, which I thought was cool. So this is a really cool car inside. I was told this is a very expensive car, but for me, I enjoy more of these beat up cars that are parked outside. So that's just a personal preference. And this was a hotel that was out of business, but I thought the sign was really, really cool.
We used to have one of those in Jackson.
Thinking that, yeah.
And so, some of them are really, really rough, but I'm more interested in the story. So, I mean, these sketches they're absolutely awful. The proportions are off and everything, but I'm trying to capture like, I haven't really seen someone making coconut juice in Charlotte. So I'm like, I thought it was really cool. So I broke it up into the steps. So it's more like an infogram story kind of thing.
Some of them are colored and some of them are not. I like that. When I do that, I feel like it's just unfinished, but I'm looking at yours and I really like that effect.
Well, thank you. So that's two parts there. One is it speeds things up by doing that. And also it highlights what you want to show. So, that's kind of the reason why I do it. And, and some of these they're very, very quick. So here's to earlier prompt about the sketching subject. I eat my tacos and I draw my truck. So it's like, that's how quick some of these are in that sense. There. I have a lot of food. I guess yeah. But it's this one was a challenge. If you want to take up on this challenge, try to sketch your arm when you're actually donating blood. It's this was very hard for me. So
Hey.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I like your sticker on there too.
Oh yeah. So I made a difference and my blood type is A and I gave blood at 345. So yeah, what else do I have? And things that are fascinating with water tanks. We have a lot of these in this area. This was in Winston-Salem, but I could just draw these all day for some reason. I don't know why, but I'm just fascinated to them, like water tanks.
That's a great sketch.
So yeah, and just a lot more vehicles, tanks and planes.
Wow.
Yeah, for you, Corsair. I love it.
Water tanks, more planes. Oh yeah, and dinosaurs. Of course, you have to draw dinosaurs. So. Yeah.
Where did you see dinosaurs? Where did you get that? Where did you draw that from?
This was from the Military Aviation Museum in where is that? It's more north. I think it was in Virginia.
The dinosaurs?
Yeah. This dinosaur was actually at the Aviation Museum.
Really?
I don't know why, but yeah, they were up in
What?
the front, and people just drive through it, and then they would get to see these planes that are in the back there. I have no idea why it was dinosaurs.
Well, that's weird.
I absolutely love that sketch right there. I'm a big Corsair fan anyway. That's a beautiful sketch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah. No. Yeah, they're fascinating. So like planes and cars, I know nothing about planes and cars, and I just love drawing them. So yeah. And I think you've seen me draw tacos many times. I think I'm just addicted to them. So, oh yeah, and so one thing, after years, so this person is sitting really, really close to me, and this is something I learned at the Urban Sketcher Symposium. So this is back in 2010, and I'm sure many of you know the Urban Sketcher Lapan. He's just amazing. Yeah, he taught at the first Urban Sketchers, but we went on a tram in Portland, Oregon. It's jam packed, and like people like face to face jam packed. Lapan pulls out his sketchbook and he starts drawing this person that he doesn't know of, like right in front of him. And it just blew me away. I'm like, how can anyone have the guts to do that? Yeah. So 10 years later, I think I finally reached there too, where I could do that. It's where, and I think you learn the technique where, you don't look up and down as much, and you just pretend you're doing your own thing. You're a sketchbook, and you really look up. And so this person is like right in front of me, and I just drew him. So I could teach you that technique too. How do you draw someone that's right in front of you and not offend them, kind of thing. So. Oh yeah, here is something I was playing around with. So I drew this site from the airport and uptown Charlotte, the skyrise area in the back. It's really, really small when you draw it to scale. But in my mind, I'm able to do this thingy, like many people. I was told that like a 2-year-old would go up to a television set and start doing things thinking they could zoom TV. Right? I mean, that's how we're kind of trained, almost like not brainwashed, but like trained to be able. So in my mind, I'm doing that, and in my mind, I'm seeing that. But in real life, it's that, and that was kind of a sketchbook capturing that.
That's cool.
That's very cool.
Oh yeah, breakdown of a hamburger and stuff. So it's. Yeah, I have a lot of thingies.
I think that's really interesting. That's that you have a childlike curiosity and transfer that into your drawings. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, it's just fascinating though. It's like, so this, I went to a fair, an apple picking fair, and there's this crazy sound coming out. I didn't know, I've never seen anything like this, but there's this like bazooka that shoots like apples. and I was just so fascinated. I just sat there and I drew these people, and I figured out how it worked. They put in the apple, they pull a trigger, and they do something, and it shoots, and it makes this crazy sound. So I was just capturing what I saw. So oh yeah, and this is one of those rare times, but my wife made this really fluffy pancake. And so I wanted to break it down and to see what were the steps required to make it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a little instruction.
Cool.
How to make a super fluffy pancake. Yeah. So yeah, I like I said, I could keep on going on forever, but it's I'm trying to think of if there's any big story. And there are times, we may run out of inspirations. Every day I look for an inspiration. Yesterday I drew, where's my sketchbook from yesterday? So yesterday I didn't really have any inspiration, but I found out that yesterday was a French Fry Day, National French Fry Day. So I actually went out and and went to my favorite place that sells chicken actually, but they have great French fries. So here's my inspiration for yesterday. And this was a little while ago, but it was called a National Donut Day, I think. And Dunkin' Donuts had their own do-it-yourself donut. So I went out and my wife and I competed on who would make a better donut. And yeah, hers was quicker, was much better. So she's the winner. And I lost, but I actually ate it faster and drove it faster. So I think I won too. So. Oh yeah, and there are days that I went voting, and then I went to a coffee shop and stuff like that. So
I've been following you for a while, but this makes it to hear you and your story and the broad seeing things and liking things and curiosity of things is just it's a fascinating journey to have listened to you tonight. Yeah, it brought new life to the pictures, even though they are very lively, but it brought new life to it. So I send my thanks for taking the time to share with us. It's been wonderful.
No, thank you. Thank you for listening. No, and a lot of these, I go out, not knowing, and I come back knowing a little more. So this story here, it's not just a salad. I actually ordered a salad through an app. But, like many people during the pandemic time, you would order and you would go pick up. And this was a salad I ordered for the first time at a restaurant that I never ordered before. And because I knew the location, I go there, I'm driving around. I can't find the location. I'm like, where is this restaurant? But I already prepaid for it. I'm looking around forever. I find out that this restaurant is inside a hospital. So I actually parked my car. I go through like whatever security check for COVID, and I go through and I get in. And here I'm actually eating this salad. And everyone around here, these are all like nurse practitioners, they're all medical people wearing, the grubs and stuff. And so it's like, it just makes it that much more memorable, in terms of like, okay, I have my warm shawarma bowl and everyone around me is in the medical field.
I think if I had to pull one thing that I've listened to you thread is telling a story. It isn't about the drawing. It isn't about the framing of a picture. It's not about the competition. It's not about the coloring. It's telling a story that becomes part of me and my life's history, epilogue for my life. And that simplifies it. If you think I'm leaving an epilogue to someone that's family or to the bigger world, it really simplifies your art. I like it. Good story.
I want to share something based on what you just said. This is something very personal to me, but this was one of 4 books that my father gave me a few years ago. It dates back to 1943. It's actually my great grandfather's visual diary. He was actually an urban sketcher. My
wow.
And he's traveled around the world, and it's written in old-fashioned Japanese. So I could barely read this. I actually had to have my in-laws help me translate it, but it's like pre-war time, during the wartime. So there's a lot going on here in terms of the history, but I thought art didn't run in my family because none of my siblings or my family, my brothers, my parents did it. But yeah, my great grandfather was actually a sketcher. So I'm like, and it's been passed on to me because no one wanted this book, or no one had the need.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's what I found fascinating is I'm flipping through it. I'm like, it's such a different time, but there's a place. Where was that? Maybe it's not in this version here, but there's one sketch where there's like this little baby, and it's actually my father when he was like 1 year old. So there's a thread there where they connected. So this is a little bit of And this
What a
was
treasure.
done- yeah, oh, absolute treasure. And it's just fascinating where, there's like a little stamp there saying it had to go through some approvals, when it was being shipped at the time, because they wanted to make sure that nothing top secret was being shipped from one country to another, and, all the wartime
Wow.
stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
That is a.
Wow, Mike. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Treasure.
fantastic. The hand binding and wow,
Yeah.
that is an absolute
Yeah.
That
treasure
is so
for sure.
special.
yeah.
One thing too, I love to journal, and writing is one thing, but a visual journal, this is inspiring to me, because just to have a daily visual journal of your life, I mean, how
Mhm.
amazing is that? You just proved what we could all do as leaving legacies to our family and family members through visual journaling.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic takeaway.
I think, leaving, I think the first part to that should be you're doing it because you enjoyed it and you just want to do it. And as a follow-up, by default, it's like, hey, oh yeah, I'm going to leave something, as a legacy. It should be the
Yeah.
other way around, or you're going to put a lot of pressure on yourself to have
Yeah.
to do it. So
Yeah, that's right. Wow, fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lisa, what do you think?
Well, Mike, it depends on you. We are, what is it, 9:36 right now? And you have enlightened us and entertained us, and we have so enjoyed it. And we don't want to take too much of your time, but we do so appreciate this. And I think we all have a lot to take away from
Yes.
tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
yeah.
Been great.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Well,
You'll be
what we keep doing, guys, we keep setting the bar higher and higher. And Mike, you've now set the new altitude record for our group. So
Yeah.
we thank you for that. We thank you for taking us along for that little bit of nostalgia through your visual diaries. It's awesome. Extremely inspiring. We thank you for your time. We want to see you in person. You're welcome to come down to Jack's anytime. Open invitation. We'd love to have you.
Well, thank you. No, I'd love to be there. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
All
we'll know when your new book comes out through your Instagram. You'll make
Yes,
notification.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, right now it's scheduled for January, so it's still a little bit of time, but
Okay.
it's
We'll look forward to it.
Are you on Facebook or just Instagram?
I am on Facebook, but I don't do that much. It's more from Instagram. I mean, they're kind of connected, but I'm mostly on Instagram.
Okay.
right.
What's your site, Mike? Just type in your name and or
Yeah,
we get to you. Yeah.
just
Yeah,
type in my full name, Mike Daikubara, all as one
Yeah.
word, and it'll pop up. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yeah. Anna, we thank you for bringing this fine young man to our attention tonight. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, I was in the right place at the right time in Chicago and I met him.
absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
worked out for us.
It sure did.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
Thank you,
for coming
everyone.
tonight.
All
Thank
right.
you, Mike. Thank you,
Thank
team.
you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you all.
Wonderful, wonderful program.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Bye.
Happy
Thank you.
sketching.
Awesome.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Good
Bye.
session. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.